Hello, hello, buenos dias, good morning, my dear friends, and welcome once again to our channel. Welcome to Peru History Adventures with Vanessa Vasquez, your Lima City tour guide. It's a pleasure to have you in every occasion, and for me, well, every opportunity is the chance to show you a bit more about my city, about Lima, a city with lots of stories, untold history, of course. And in today's occasion, we will be visiting the Park of the Wall, Parque de la Muralla, in the historic center of Lima. As always, we do these events live, but using also recorded tools, like, for example, in today's occasion, a video I did just a few days ago in that park. Also, something that we need to take in consideration is the fact that in many parts in Lima, the internet not always is stable all the time. So these forms of displaying these, let's say, these tours using recorded material help me to show you these places without interruptions. Sometimes the internet, well, is also a little bit challenging from home, but I hope that in today's occasion you enjoy this event and also you get to see well the details of the park with no problems. Also, if you're watching, if you're tuning in, seeing the recorded version of this live event, well, you are more than welcome to visit me every week on these live events that I do about history, especially dedicated to Peru. So, my name is Vanessa. As I said before, I am a Peruvian tour guide. I work as a tour guide here in Lima City. And if you ever come to Lima in person, well, I would love to have you here. For this event also we have a live chat interactive, so I can see also your questions if there's any question also. And if later you tune in using or seeing the recorded version, you can also drop some questions in the description section, below the description section of this video. Okay, so I think we will begin, and let's go now to the video. So, okay. So as I said before, this video that I recorded for today's occasion, I did it about like a week ago, more or less, and you can see from start that we have this very like gray season for Lima, which is a very typical thing for us in the city of Lima during more or less half a year. So we are in winter season here in the southern hemisphere, and well, I will be giving a play to this video from beginning to end. I have added also some images during the event to give you some insights about the history of especially the park, and also well the treasures that the park keeps inside. So, well, this is the entrance into the park. The Park of the Wall of Lima is located in the historic center of the city. The historic center of the city was created by the conquistadors. Well, in particular, the head leader of this group of conquistadors, Francisco Pizarro, came to Lima in the year 1535, and well, started in January 18th, which is the date of the foundation of Lima, the redesign of the city. Later on, we're going to try to recreate how Lima was before the arrival of the conquistadors, and also how important was the presence of this pre-Hispanic city in this location, to later on also see well the design of Lima, done or produced by the Spaniards here. So now we're getting inside the park. This park was inaugurated in the year 2004. So it's a fairly new park, and it is located very close to the Church of the Franciscans. So if you ever go to the Church of the Franciscans in the historic center of Lima, in the old part of the city, very close to the main square. If you're going to visit, for example, the catacombs of the Franciscans convent, just 1 block away is this location. Is the entrance where we started. So, well, here you just saw a list of the sites that you can see in there. So we have a restaurant, for example. We have lots of viewpoints of the city, especially across the river Rimac. So I think in winter it looks really interesting. Maybe it's not like pretty like in summer, but I think in days like, for example, this one, when we had the gray sky in the back, but also we could see the hills. Well, it is a very interesting view. So also this hill over there is named San Cristobal or Saint Christopher Hill. Saint Christopher is the saint of the travelers. And we know that before the arrival of the conquistadors, that hill was also considered a very special, uh, say, natural element of the city, because the indigenous of Peru, um, which were pantheists at some point, they worship like natural elements, like rivers, hills, caves, consider it to be very, very special. So we are now giving a, let's say, overall view to the surroundings around this section. And you can also see that, well, the floor is a little bit wet. Lima has this characteristic that, well, it's a city in the desert, but just in this season, we get to see a little bit of precipitation. Very, very little. More or less 1 centimeter of rain per year is what we get in average. And most of it happens in this season only. So you can see the humidity. The humidity comes from the Humboldt current, and it impacts here against the hills, the Andes mountain range. Actually, those hills are the foothills of the Andes. And well, in this section also, we have in this season, well, this drizzle. And finally, we are seeing part of the walls of Lima. Soon we're going to be down and we will have the chance of seeing like what part is what. And also in the process of say investigation in the site, two cannons were discovered in this exact location. So here, for example, one in display. So, well, the city of Lima back in the pre-Hispanic times probably looked like this. Channels of water and also Inca trails crisscross the city. You know, Lima is a desert, so water was a very important element for us. The Spaniards also, and I will put a little stop here so you can see a bit better, this superposition, let's say, of the Spanish design, the grid pattern or checkerboard pattern that overposed the design of the Incan city. So the design of the Incas or the indigenous of this location in Lima look more like a triangle, as you can see. The Spaniards use the already existing model to interconnect, for example, this part of the valley with other locations in Lima. And this is very, very important for us to understand as the basics into understanding also the wall of Lima, because even though the Spanish thought that in a way also like this triangular pattern of the city like was useful, but they will be bringing a new one, a grid pattern. Eventually the city went back to the triangular design. So most of these roads, of these trails that you see that are below, let's say, the grid pattern, were like Inca trails, basically connecting, for example, to the ocean, connecting to the Andes. So it was perfectly reasonable for the Spanish to keep those trails. But in the city, they decided to use this different shape, the grid pattern. So the green section you see there highlighted is what nowadays is the main square of Lima. Okay, so later on, in the history also, the grid pattern, the original grid pattern, was broken, and well, things changed completely. So I will give a play again to this video. So, as I was saying, the Spanish continue using many of these trails. Eventually, that triangular part, for example, mark in a way the limits of the walls of Lima. And there you have also the location where nowadays is the park where we are in this moment. So, in what edge, let's say, of the walled city of Lima. And also, another interesting thing is the fact that we still have, for example, the Franciscans convent on the right hand side in the video. So the Franciscans still live there, they have their convent there, but also across the Franciscans' property, at some point, there used to be houses. There are also lots of different monuments and reminders of like heroes. Jose Felix Bogado was an Argentinian liberator who came with the troops of Jose de San Martin during the time of the process of the independence. And this is an old ramp that used to go to the river before the creation of the wall of Lima. And this one is a view from the top of a colonial house that was also rediscovered during the process of the investigation of the park, the restoration of the park. And this building that you see here, this colonial house, from it could be beginnings of the 17th century, used to be below another more modern house, more like probably Republican construction that is no longer existing. So the foundation of that Republican house was a colonial house from the beginnings of the 17th century. So even this property here, this old house and the ramp, are from the time before the construction of the wall of Lima. In this park, we had until last year the monument of Francisco Pizarro. Hola, Arlene, thanks for being here. So the monument of Francisco Pizarro, it used to be initially in the very close to the main square of Lima. It was displayed first next to the cathedral, then it was moved across the cathedral to one corner around the main square. And then later it was moved here to this park, completely hidden under a bridge. Nobody could really see the monument of Pizarro. There was also some type of conflict related with the image of Pizarro also here in Peru as a conquistador. And later on, last year, Pizarro's monument was returned to the section close to the main square, not in the very main square, but very close to the main square. So here you can see a section that is, let's say, described as a tajamar or cutwater. So evidently, it was necessary to have these forms of protection, these second walls, let's say, in front of the walls of Lima, in the sections close to the river or near the river. So a few like meters away from this location runs the river, Rimac River, from the Andes. And in the rainy season, January, February, March, we have a lot of water there. So I will do a little stop here for you to see also how this location was before the renovations and also the inauguration of the park of the wall, the park of La Muralla. By the way, when I said the word muralla, muralla is a word we just use for describing a wall for defense. Okay, so the park of the wall, the park of the muralla. So this type of architecture, these Republican style houses, were the ones that used to exist in this site. And well, this was one of the poorest neighborhoods or spaces, let's say, in the historic center of Lima until not so long ago. the families who lived there were families who were in poverty. They were squatter families. They were not owners of these houses. The previous owners of these houses left the historic center of Lima like long ago. So the houses were in really bad shape. So they were a danger for the location, no? For the visitors. No? So look this other picture over here, for example. No? So this is from right before the, let's say, the destruction, the final destruction of these houses that were uh, definitely not in good situation, and they were a danger themselves for the families who were occupying these properties. So there was a big problem related with what to do with these families, where to relocate them. Finally, the City Hall of Lima decided to create homes for these families not far away from here. There is nowadays a sort of like a condominium very close where these families were located, and also some other families were moved away to other locations outside the historic center of Lima. So it was indeed like a happy ending for most of the families. Of course, there's always families who are not always happy, but this was not a good way of life. No? So this is the condominium that is right next. I think at some point we will see a bit of where the condominium is, and well, we're talking about 70 families that were relocated, that were moved from here. So we can see again the ramp. This is a different view of the ramp. We saw it from the top. And this used to be ramp access to the river before the existence of the walls. So the walls were created at the end of the 17th century. So this house and the ramp are from the probably beginnings of the 17th century. So, well, this type of constructions, these colonial houses of Lima, which to me, the first time I saw this house was so eye-opening, because we don't have architecture so early of the history of Lima existing anymore. One of the main reasons is because of the earthquakes. We have lots of earthquakes here in Lima. So we have a constant need of like restoring, fixing, making things stronger, more seismic resistant. So, well, this construction, as you can see, has like cobblestone in the bottom part, which, for example, this is a painting from the period. It's a painting from the say beginnings of the 17th century, mid 17th century, in which we can see that the houses are also becoming like much taller. The houses in the during the 16th century in Lima were just one floor tall, just one level, one storage, and later on in the say 17th century, houses started to be more like bigger, more posh, more elegant. The wooden balconies, like the ones you see there, became a trend, especially among the wealthy families. And this location is very close to the main square of Lima. So in theory, like this was a very like it place. It was where the creme de la creme live. So of course, eventually that glamour was gone. But this is the way how the houses look like from the paintings, at least, with this Moorish influence and this beautiful architecture. And well, of course, that the city eventually changed, and we just have few of these houses intact. But this design of house that we just saw, and we're going back to the video, well, has a foundation made from stone, and the second, like, or the higher levels foundation is stone, and then the higher part is mud bricks. Okay, so there were lots of artifacts rescued from the excavations in this site. The building, the white wall you see on the left, is the site museum of the wall. But sadly, like every time I've been coming recently, the museum is closed. So maybe for now, if you come here, you will not find it open, but I hope that it goes again to be open soon, because, well, it has some models of, well, the site, some objects that were rescued from this place. And well, I think it's interesting seeing like how was the whole process with pictures as well of how this site little by little was rescued, modified, and also be transformed into a space for the community, not just for visitors. For example, in the Park of the Wall, if you come with kids, you can go to this public library, and like let them like see some books and enjoy. And it's open from Tuesdays to Sundays, just in case Mondays usually museums and sites like this one are not working. Also, well, this is a good alternative if you're coming here to this location. I want to just take a little break. And we have, of course, public bathrooms if you need to go. And the price to go to a public bathroom, is generally one sol. One sol. That's about 30 cents of dollar, a bit less than 30 cents of dollar. And that's really the rule almost everywhere in the country, if you want to rent a public bathroom. Hola, Satyam. Hola, amigo. Thanks for being here. So, and we continue now seeing the wall. Keep in mind that I mentioned already before that this section was very close to the river, to the side of the river. We are at the, let's say, left bank of the river Rimac, and this is what specialists call a tajamar in Spanish, or a cutwater. So this was a space or a section that was designed to cut the water if the river grew too much, to get into the wall per se that was behind. So seems that even the wall in this section was at some point not finished completely. There are some documents from the colonial times that mention that. Actually, this is the late colonial times in the 1807, that there were segments of the walls that were not finished and that were finished finally in that year. So in Spanish, tajamar, or cut water. So these spaces were like sort of like a prominent, no? They came out of the wall, and they were supposed to be also a defense way against the water. But interestingly enough, like for me, was to learn that most of the wall of Lima, it was made from mud bricks. Also, evidently, the mud bricks were not proper for putting them close to the river, right? But because in Lima almost never rains, like for example, here we had a little bit of drizzle that day, but in Lima we don't really have real rain, so it was quite okay to do that. So let me just make a little stop here, because I would like to tell you a bit of how an idea plan to have a wall in the city started. So when the Spanish conquistadors came to Lima in the year 1535, well, they designed, of course, since right at the beginning, since their arrival, a city that will not be just one more city, one more small town. They wanted to make this city the capital of the territory that was being conquered for the King of Spain. Later on, the city was named City of Lima, or City of the Kings, and also it became the capital of the whole Viceroyalty of Peru. Okay, but in the first years after the arrival of the conquistadors, there were constant, say, fears of Incan revolts, revolutions. Actually, the first one happened just 1 year after the arrival of the Spanish in the year 1536. And this siege of Lima that lasted for several days, for 16 days, had Lima completely, let's say, surrendered by indigenous. Troops of 60,000 indigenous were sieging Lima, but also the Spanish had their supporters that were as well indigenous. So that's how Lima was not taken by the indigenous. I remember the general was Quiso a very important Incan general, who was finally murdered, killed, very close to the main square of Lima. No? So back then, Lima was not yet walled. We're talking about a city that had a little bit more than a year of existence. But since that moment, Francisco Pizarro, Conquistador Pizarro, thought that a wall for defense of the city was like necessary. No? So a year after, in documents and letters also Pizarro sent to Spain, he mentions that it was necessary to create a wall for the city. The city was not walled until later on in our history, but the first section within Lima that was walled was a portion of the city that was known as the Cercado de Indios. The Cercado de Indios was sort of like a reservation for indigenous peoples inside the city area. Not right, let's say, inside the checkerboard, the grid pattern of the Spanish, but on a zone that was right next, that later on was absorbed by the city. Cercado de Indios. The word cercado in Spanish refers to a section that is walled around it. Cercado. Cercar is to protect, to put a bench, to put a protection. So the walled city of indigenous was also administered and organized by the Jesuits. The Jesuits came a few years before that. I remember it was around the year 1568 when they came to Lima for the first time. The Jesuits touched this territory, and they are also probably the most important religious order with the Franciscans and Dominicans, and they were the ones in charge of the administration of this site. So sorry for this long stop, but I think this is the first evidence of a wall for the city. But why the indigenous had to be walled? Like they were the first ones walled. Well, the history says that the wall was put indigenous protection of from whom? Protection from the Spanish. Well, it seems that the indigenous actually were in this way protected more for, of course, like the possibility of being influenced negatively by other groups being mistreated, but also for taxing them and for controlling them better. So this is the wall. Muralla means wall, and what we are seeing there is the evidences of this ancient wall. So remember, in front of the wall, we had the tajamar. We had this cutwater section, and the wall, the existence of the wall, especially in this part of the city next to the river, was in dispute for a long time because, well, of these folios and documents mentioning that there were sections that were in existence of the walls that were not, let's say, finished. But finally, the archaeological evidence says that yes, there used to be a colonial wall also in this section. So in this part, for example, was discovered a cannon, which was also placed, positioned there for defense of the city. And the material used to build the walls of Lima influenced, of course, initially the design by the Italian walls, medieval Italian walls of cities, and also French walls. Was, of course, stone, also a cement-like material made from a combination of water, sand, pebbles, limestone, which is the same type of material used for the construction of the oldest bridge we have in Lima, the Bridge of Stone, which was built in the year 1610, and also the foundations for churches, including the foundation of the convent of the Franciscans, which is also famous for being the place where the catacombs of Lima, the first public cemetery of Lima, well, is located. So here you can see the walls again. You can see the restoration of the walls. And the total size of the walls was approximately, well, less than 13 kilometers. There's no also consensus, but let's say like roughly 12 kilometers long, so around the whole city. In the original design, the wall had a moat in the, for example, outside, right? A moat around circling the whole wall for protection. And this wall was supposed to have this water moat around, but the problem is that we have, you know, not rain, so it was necessary to bring the water from the river. So the design included like a channel of water from the river that will be taking water around the whole wall. And that's why the foundation was made on stone. So in that way, this foundation will be impermeable. Okay, but later on, well, the plan didn't function that way. Hola, Marilu. No worries, my dear friend. No worries, Marilu. You can also see the replay. I hope from the beginning that well, we will have the recording done perfectly at the end of this live stream. Gracias. Thanks for being here. So you can see also one of the limits of the park. The size of the park is quite big. It's about 25,000 square kilometers. So it's a big space that you know already well was originally occupied by families, low-income families. Also, we had even like a big parking in this section. So it was, well, definitely not let's say, a safe place, unfortunately, when, let's say, it was like untouched without the restoration. And I think this was a really great hall. It was also a very expensive investment, but it was a great decision of relocating the families, giving them a better like life opportunities, quality of life, and also rescuing this park for the visitors. So now we're going higher to give you a view of the surroundings of the park, the wall a little bit. But the idea also is crossing to the other side. Okay, so the park is inclusive for people who come with wheelchair. Uh, you can also visit the park with no problems. There are ramps, there are some elevators. There is a gymnasium. I didn't know there was a gymnasium for the community also, a public gym. And you see also one of the bridges that go across the river, lots of buses also. It was morning time, pretty much the same time now. We begin this event at 11 a.m. And the sky as gray as it can be in Lima in this season. So we also saw a little bit of the top of the Church of the Franciscans Order, and we continue walking also. In that direction, by the way, let me also make a little stop here. In that direction, we were seeing like the bridge, right? So in that direction, we still have evidence of the only left bastion out of the 34 bastions the walls of Lima had. Okay. Sadly, the location where the bastion is not the safest in Lima. So it is out of the touristic circuit, the walking, it's a circuit in the historic part of Lima, and it's also quite distant. It's not so close, but well, this is the way it looks like. So these bastions were designed to also be quite high. So the highest elevation of the wall of Lima was about 6 meters. It was between 4 to 6, so in average it was 5. Okay, so 6 meters high. Well, originally it had a moat design, a ditch, very big design around it. But you can see that in this one, for example, the material is just mud. Okay, so even though the design was to have a mud, in some sections the mud was not impossible because you could destroy, you could ruin completely the wall, putting water near it. Okay, so the thickness of the walls also, they were not always like the same. Some sections had 1.5 meters thickness, and the thickest parts were 3 meters. So the intention was that on top of the wall there could be a section for people to walk, or the guardians to walk, and here these were the like watch towers almost, no, where people could like check what happened outside. So this is the bastion of Santa Lucia, which is the only one that we still have, and it is very close to a cemetery. So also very close to this bastion, there used to be one of the two most beautiful, let's say, gates into the city. Oh, so it is so sad to me, like seeing pictures of back of this time when Lima was so beautiful, so pretty, and also that we could keep these doorways, these gates, but well, the passing of the times, decisions made not possible for us to keep them, at least the gates. So this is the Portada de las Maravillas. There used to be a chapel very close to this um, gate that was called also Christ of the Maravillas, the Christ of the Marbles, and I think marvel is not the word. Like maravilla is like a wonderful thing, no? So the wonders. So well, this arch or this gate took the name of that chapel. So why it was so important and why it was so decorated is because this was the official entrance to Lima from the Andes. So all of the indigenous peoples who came with products to be sold at the markets in Lima, especially the main market was at the main square of Lima. So all of the potatoes, the sweet potatoes, like anything that was like moved into the city for to be sold had to be taxed at this point because people had to pay money for all the products. So controlled, you know, and then after, well, you were allowed to come in. So that's why it was such an important gate. But it was not the only one. In total, there were 10 gates in the city. But as I said before, two were the most beautiful so far. The visitors of Lima mentioned back then. Also, you can see also the Hill San Christopher again, and also the railroad. We have a train that still passes very close to the historic center of Lima. This Ferrocarril Central, the central train, goes to Huancayo, and it is a very interesting mode of transportation. Is a classic train, is from the end of the 19th century, and in more or less 300 kilometers distance, it goes from level zero, sea level, to almost 4,000 meters above sea level. So it's incredibly like the let's say steep, no, the elevation, and it crossed the Andes. So very close to this part, we have a train station that is still is active, but we don't have daily departures. We don't even have monthly departures from the train. So this section over here used to be a parking space. Now it's been like used for events, for concerts, for fairs, entertainment, to also add a bit more to the offerings for visitors to come that come to Lima, especially locals, no, as well. And this is the parking lot that I mentioned that we had. So it was right in this part. Mhm. It is very spacious also, this site. So it can accommodate hundreds of people. The traffic of Lima, this is the nightmare. And also we have a bridge from the 19th century, like a metal bridge, very beautiful, the bridge Balta. Maybe one day I will be doing something related with bridges, the history of bridges, of the historic center of Lima, if you would like me to do that. So we continue walking, and well, here would like to also detain a bit more in telling you how well the walls of Lima look like, and why so we are dedicating this event to the walls of Lima. So well, this is the map of Lima. At the time of the conclusion of the construction of the walls. So if you give a detailed look to this map, you can see that, well, the wall is completely irregular in shape. It is not like a square, not circular. So it has a very interesting shape. And if you remember from the beginning of the event, I mentioned that Lima had pre-Hispanic channels of water and also trails, Incan trails that crisscross the city. And well, the Spanish used a section of the city that was already occupied by indigenous. So they used in their benefit, like, for example, the channels of water and the trails. Even though they decide to overlocate on top of this already existing city, a checkerboard pattern, a grid pattern that you can clearly see in this picture. You can see the grid pattern. Uh, at some point in the edges of this grid pattern, well, the crisscross, let's say, Inca trails like start to emerge, right? And there you have this sort of like triangular shape, like inverted, upside down triangular shape, which eventually also gives the appearance of the wall the way it looked. No? So the construction of the wall took several years, no? And it was delayed for a long time. Remember that Pizarro solicited a wall for Lima since more or less like 2 years after the arrival of the Spaniards. That was in 1537 when we have documents related with that solicitude. But well, it didn't happen mainly because it was expensive to build a wall. So finally, Viceroy Melchor Navarra y Rocaful, he well, asked to the king, sorry, in Spain to allow him to build a wall, and the king said, "Okay, we can, you can do that, but not with my money." So you have to figure out how to get the money to build it. So people were taxed in Lima. There was a tax on like food, tax on I remember so far like alcohol, for example, like different products were taxed, and also people had to pay to build the wall, like the citizens. You could do it in different ways. You could pay with money. You could set people like your slaves, for example, your let's say their servants, to build the wall, or you could build it yourself. So, but everybody had to work. So that's why it took more or less 3 years. So it began the construction in 1648, ended in 1684, and ended up in 1687. And the destruction of the wall happened, well, much later, almost 200 years after the construction of the wall, the inauguration of the wall. And the reason is because Lima was so constricted by the wall. Like Lima was growing fast, and it was like the problem, the number one problem that is mentioned related with the wall is the trash, that the walls of Lima were accumulating trash all the time. And people were just dropping the trash there. So that at some point, for example, some sections around the wall, people could just climb up the wall, like by walking over the piles of trash there. And that was indeed a big problem, sanitary problem. Okay, so I will give it play here. And so you can see also across the river, there's another community that was not walled, the community of Rimac. So eventually it became integrated also into the city, Layut. And the river also clearly you see it. You even see the Tajamar, the cutwater that is on the top, let's say, on the top of this wall, which is where we are in this video also, right? And this is another, say, map of nowadays Lima. And even though the walls are gone since the end of the 19th century, the ghosts still remain as a ghost for us in Lima. The streets highlighted in yellow color are, well, the streets where the walls basically ran along those streets. The destruction of the walls finally happened, as you know already, in this period, like ending the 19th century. Um, because, well, people also didn't want it anymore to have the wall. There was an intention of opening up the city, and an American businessman, Henry May, um, was paid very, very little actually for doing the remotion of this wall. But he also did something very interesting. He was a very wise, savvy businessman, speculating with the possibility of the cost of the land. At some point, he asked for specific sections, let's say where the wall was, especially close to the that sort of like let's say edge section where two avenues are cutting, right? So in that part, that was one of the most exclusive sections, eventually became one of the most exclusive sections. So, well, he asked to be paid partially with land, in the sections where the walls ran, in some sections. But contrary to that, for example, in the upper part, sort of like where it goes like a on the right of the picture, where it goes like a round section, that was already a very poor part. That section, for example, the wall was not destroyed there because nobody really cared on living there. It was a very poor zone. So Henry May didn't really finish the work in that section. That's why we still have the Bastion of Santa Lucia, because that part was not finished. Mhm. So let me do also a play here. And, well, you can still see also that nowadays we can walk along the areas where the wall used to exist. There were all walls in the country, two more actually, two more cities wall. No, the wall of Callao from the 1640s, destroyed by an earthquake and tsunami, especially in the year 1746, and the walls of Trujillo, which also were colonial walls. The walls of Trujillo lasted for a little bit longer than the walls of Lima. And this is also very, very curious because you can see that again in the case of the wall of the city of Trujillo in the north of the country, the avenue around the city, the main avenue, let's say, around the city, the historic part of Trujillo, also runs along the section where the wall used to be. The name of that avenue is España, Spain. Many years ago, I went there. I did a live tour for a platform. I started to do live streams with, in the beginnings of the pandemic, HeyGo, and I did an event there. Sadly, I couldn't record it. It was a different time, but I hope one day going back and showing you more of that beautiful city of Trujillo. So, well, the country had three walled cities. Why we had three walled cities? Well, the reason is because we also were constantly attacked by pirates. Most people really don't know about the pirates of the Pacific. The pirates of the Caribbean are the ones that are more famous, infamous. But there were pirates coming to Peru, and especially coming to the Pacific. But Peru was a very distant destination for them. And also, we have to keep in mind that for pirates to come this side, they had to go through Cape Horns, so to the extreme south territory of South America, and go across that section, a very dangerous path also. And it was a very long way, without supplies, without like water. So not so many pirates were able to achieve something like that. And then after crossing and being safe on the other side in the Pacific, now in the Pacific coast, they could go northwards, to, in this case, Lima, to here, to the port of Callao in particular. But just a little parenthesis for children. If you come to the park with children, we have a section where we have like different games. So it's a fun space if you want to bring kids, but do it later, not at 10 or 11 a.m. because it's almost dead. There is also an elevator for people who cannot use stairs. Also, you can come down and enjoy here. So most of these stores that offer like games where you can play with children are open after noon, like midday. Hmm? And we have like offices related with the administration of the park. So this section is more like on the right hand side is a section related with the offices of the probably the administration and the gardening of this location. And some offices also of the city hall are here, city hall employees. And across on the other side is where this sort of like a complex, a apartment building complex, where the 70 families who live in this location, like now live. No, they were moved towards that location. There is a mini farm here also. There's a mini farm, and it's for free. So you don't pay 1 cent to come into the park. It is sustained by the City Hall of Lima, and I'll show you which animals we have in this mini farm. Hmm? So, well, uh, this park also is constantly visited by kids from different schools. There are also like municipal like projects for like educating children, well, using the farm, but also the spaces near the wall. Also, today we didn't see children, but usually there are many. And well, here we have some guinea pigs if you like them. Guinea pigs are like beautiful creatures. They are also very important to Peruvian gastronomy because we consume guinea pigs. They are very tasty, but also we understand that most people don't see them as food; they see them as pet. In the Andes, though, there are not so many alternatives of like protein, animal protein, so that's why still they are consumed. We're talking about like places above 4,000 meters above sea level. It's way too cold. And these little creatures are very well adapted to that elevation. Across, you can see birds. They are not endemic from Peru. So they are like just pretty different birds. We have also some rabbits there. So it's just fun for children to come and see them. And also at the entrance of the park, there are always, every day, like people, women, most of the times, selling food for the pigeons or for the rabbits. So well, if you wish to get some food to feed these animals, you can also get that at the entrance of the park for a little fee. Um, so, and we continue also seeing some of them. Well, I am a birder. I like birds. So, and well, another thing interesting before we also keep seeing some other sites is that we're talking about the walls of Lima, no? And why so many cities had walls here in Peru. So I mentioned the pirates. No? So we had pirates coming here. This is not an event about pirates, but I would like to tell you that no less than four pirate attacks, important pirate attacks, happened in the Peruvian coasts. Also, and even one of them attacked directly to Lima. So Jacques Lermite, a Dutch a pirate, came to Lima and attacked the coast of Peru, attacked the port of Callao, which was a city at that point in the history, with a very incipient, very initial wall. And Jaxlar might also, well, attacked the city with the intention of taking all of its treasures. So far I remember, the wall of Callao was not yet finished or was not even there yet when Jacques Lermite came. So the attack of Jacques Lermite, the attack of Francis Drake also that happened at the end of the 16th century, in a way put some pressure to the people of Lima to finally get a wall, because of the fear of, well, these attacks. No? So these are other animals. I'm so sorry, I don't know how these animal look names in English. In Spanish is chivo, but I don't know how it is. Please help me. And we have also some llamas over there, some pretty llamas. So they are the highlight here in this little farm. So, and well, you can feed them, but be careful because they speak. That is their defense way. So we have llamas, we have guinea pigs, and some other very, very pretty animals here for anyone to come and visit and maybe take some pictures. And this zone is so like, it's not distant to the main square, but it's hidden. Goat, yes. Yes, it's a goat. Uh-huh. Thank you, Satya. So, and of course, they are not endemic from here. But after the arrival of the conquistadors, not only the architecture from Europe came, also many new species of animals came. And also that's why the Peruvian gastronomy is so diverse and so tasty and so rich, because now we absorb also other influences. No? Also across, like we still see the goats, but across we have the old train station. So the train also goes right next to this park, so in between, like the little farm and also the white building that we just saw in front of us. And sometimes also, according to the schedule of the train tickets, people are picked up in that location. So also this part is very curious. Let me also make a quick stop. So this is the section where the train still runs, as you know already. No? But also behind us, before the train station was built, the train station is from the year 1912. Okay, so before the construction of the train, in this location, even up this section, we used to have a church, a convent and a church. Okay, and this convent is gone. It was destroyed completely because of, well, many things. Now, the construction of the train first, the train station, and then also the amplification of the house of the president of Peru, the house of the president of Peru. But also for the Catholic world, for the Catholic world, there is a tradition nowadays, like widespread, that started in the church of the Desamparados. Desamparados means helpless ones, which gives name to the train station, which is that one there. You are seeing it over there. So this tradition consists in a tradition that happens on Good Friday, Easter, and it is a sermon that is called the Sermon of the Seven Words. No? And it's a sermon that lasts for 3 hours, starting at 12 and ends at 3 p.m. That's the norm. That sermon is always at that time because it coincides with the moment of the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. And that long sermon is about the explanation of the 7 phrases that Jesus said in the cross, okay, during his martyrdom. No, so the Swamps Lake. So and that tradition started here in Peru. In the 17th century, in this church that was there, no longer exists, but it used to be right here, the Church of the Desamparados by a Jesuit. That is nowadays a train station. And the train station, also the foundation of the train station, corresponds to the foundation of that ancient church. Okay, so this is the front of the train station. If you've ever been here in Lima, probably you passed next to this train station, because the building that is on the right sorry, on the left hand side is the wall of the house of the president of Peru. So the church and the convent of the church were both destroyed to create the train station and also to make much bigger the house of the president of Peru. Okay, thank you, Lee. So, and we continue walking also. I have some other things to show you here. So it's not a small park. Didn't you notice that? Like most people think when they are at the entrance of the park, they don't even get in because they think, oh, maybe it's like something small, like they just pass by. Um, so if you ever come here, please give us a visit. And there's so much like a investment in restoring this place. And look at the bridge, for example. That is the stone bridge of Lima from the year 1610, and it is named Stone Bridge because it is indeed made from stone and a cement-like material that is made from water, sand, pebbles, limestone, that is proven to be like the most resistant material you can build on. And this bridge connects to another neighborhood named Rimac. Mhm. So you can see here, the river is not in its highest level because it's not rainy season. Rainy season is in the beginning of the year, but sometimes the river overflows and even gets into the park. It has happened, not very often, but it has to be like something really bad for that to happen. Okay, um, so and we continue. Also, if you have a question, please let me know. Sometimes I speak like too much, and please, we have here a chat, an interactive chat. And if you watch this as a replay, send me your questions. Let me know what you think about this type of content. Also, my intention is showing you the off-charted, like the not so, let's say, popular places in my city that worth completely a visit, worth to see it. Hola, Franquito, gracias, gracias, amiguito. So, and here we are very close to the bridge. Okay, so in a moment, we're going to make a quick stop here because I want to show you a bit of like what was related with the walls of Lima close to this location. This is a cactario. It's a botanical garden where you see different species of cacti, I think it's called. And this is the limit of the park, okay? So, going back to the wall of Lima. So, you know already that the wall continued here. Let me make a quick stop, okay? Sorry, a little play for you to see the name of the next gate that was considered also another very pretty one. So, we had 10 gates in the walls of Lima. These gates were open at 4 a.m. in the morning, closed at nighttime, like about 9 p.m. And these were gates that were used for control of like products coming in out for security purposes, especially for taxing as well. So the second most beautiful gate of Lima was the wall or gate of the gate, sorry, of Callao. And this gate used to be the one that received products from the port. The other one, the one of Maravillas, received products from the Andes. Mhm. So also when the viceroys for the first time came to Peru, viceroys were the designated leaders given royalty by the king of Spain. Usually they were noble people, even connected by blood with the king, so they were of the highest trust of the king. When they came to Lima, they used that gate to go into the city. Very luxurious gate also, the Portada del Callao. So in that direction, but quite distant also, not exactly right next, is where that gate used to be. Okay, and I have another set of pictures that I will show you in a moment related with another gate that used to be exactly like on top of the bridge. Okay, so in the video that was showing you, I showed you the bridge, the stone bridge. So that is the stone bridge. If you see the image there, you can see like a walkway. There's a street. So that is the bridge, okay, on top. And also, you can see a gate there. So that gate, in theory, wasn't part of the walls of Lima. Okay, it wasn't part of the walls of Lima because the walls were running below. They were not running at that level. But it also functioned as a space for like control, especially. Well, this beautiful gate also, sadly, tragically, was destroyed. We lost it to a fire. It was the year 1871. The same year we were already involved in the war of the Pacific, and that year also, well, we had the Chileans coming into Lima. It was a really tragedy losing, well, this war, but also was more tragical for us, like being involved in the war with the Pacific, the war with Chile. So, well, look at this beautiful gate. And what it says there, it says, Dios y el Rey, God and the King. Okay, that was the original way how it was, let's say, named, that section. Well, it was not the name of the wall, but it had that element. And I have another picture that shows you how later on it was rebranded after the independence, after some time after the independence declaration. It was rebranded as Dios, God, y la patria, and the homeland, and the nation. Okay, so no more king. Okay, and also this is another curious thing. In this moment, currently, there is a process of restoration of that gate, and this is the project. The gate is no longer there, but the foundations of that gate have been rediscovered. So the gate of the bridge will be back here, and probably it would look something like this. Well, I hope also to be able to see this soon and show you also this. So it's on the left. It will be on top of the bridge. Mhm. So, and we continue. How are you seeing the video? Everything good? Let me know, please. This is San Pedro cactus. San Pedro or St. Peter's cactus is an hallucinogenical, a psychotropic, it's a plant that is still used, consumed for like different purposes, especially for medical purposes, shamanism, and so on in the Andes. So we have great respect for San Pedro. Oh, gracias. Thanks for letting me know that everything is good with the internet. I'm so relieved now. Oh, so you can still see the train. You can see the railroad. Well, the railroad, not the train, the railroad, and the on the right hand side, well, part of the territory, the site or land that now belongs to the government palace. So we cannot walk, for example, on top of that sort of like railing you see there. We cannot walk there because that zone is completely blocked. That is like high security section because it's right next to the house of the president of Peru. Mhm. So how do you like this park? I think is good for, imagine like this place in summer, like when it is like blue sky and very pretty, and the river is more like overflowing with water. It also looks very nice, sunny day. You can also jog here. You can come with a bicycle also. Like there you see the bike line. And well, in winter it's not terrible. We never get like too cold for like not like being out. So you can come here in winter, just bring a jacket. Uh, Usually we don't need any umbrellas, anything for rain. Look at that. Also, that's the back of the train station. Also, those are the bell towers of the Franciscans Church, the Church of St. Francis, which is home of the catacombs, the first public cemetery of Lima. And also, well, inside the catacombs is incredibly beautiful. So precious. Sadly, videos and pictures are not allowed inside, so I don't think I will be able to show you like a something like this, for example, from that place. But well, those are the rules, and they are completely understandable. But there are other comments that allowed videos to be made, recordings. So I'm crossing my fingers to bring you more to this channel. Also, um, before I forget, and now that we have a little, let's say, walking moment, I would like to ask you first if you can help me with a like on this stream now, if you can, also, or if you're watching it as a replay, if you can give me a like, that can help a lot to position much better these events I do, these videos. Also, I have a post here on YouTube to decide which days I will be streaming. I want to like do this 2 times a week. Last week I couldn't do it 2 times because I was very, very sick. Well, look at the weather. The weather is not really good. I got very, very sick, and I was like with a lot of tons of medication, and so I'm finally coming back to my work. Um, but I would like to do like 2 days a week these events. Just like wondering when, and later on I want to ask like at what time. Okay, so please keep in mind that we are in. I am in Peru. Time here is GMT -5. It is in this moment 12:09 noon. So according to that, you can give me suggestions. Also, you can give me recommendations in the poll that I have posted here on YouTube. I think there's a section called community. You can let me know also, like choose a day, or the set of 2 dates, and also the time that is best for you. So to keep in mind. Mhm. I'm feeling much better. Thanks God, I'm feeling much better. But there was a moment when I was getting a little bit worried because I was not improving. I was like 2 weeks really sick, and the last one was really bad, really rough for me. But well, I'm here. I'm back. Also, I used some of the remedies of my mom and my grandma, so I think that was a very good combination. I didn't use a San Pedro cactus though. So now we go upstairs. Remember that we have the elevator also if you don't want to use the stairs. And there's also the chance of using it. Like there are personnel of the park that can help you to do that as well. Mhm. And we go back to the entrance of the park. So we were able to see like lots. Actually, below this bridge is where the monument of Pizarro used to be, right in this location. We still have a parking lot though, which is there, very small. And that, like a yellow complex of buildings, is where the families that used to live here were moved, or part of the families, not all of them, but a big group of families were moved there. So still they live in their community, in the place they love, and well, they have a home. See, so in this section, in this little park, little green space, is where the statue of Pizarro was for many years, but now is no longer here because you can see it also and now close to the main square in the Pasaje Santa Rosa. So it's visible from the main square. Mhm. And now we are walking to the exit of this park, of this um, historic space dedicated to a wall that also was very important for the city. The walls died virgin, as we say, because they were never really used as a defense system against any attack. We didn't have attacks, and finally and sadly they became a burden for the citizens. So they are no longer here, but as you know already, they still exist because like a ghost, no, their presence is still sent feel here in Lima. So let me now uh, stop here the recording. And thank you so much for being here with me. It really means the world that you've been here for over an hour, well, interacting a little bit with me and also participating on this event. And well, any other event you would like me to do, like about any other topic, let me know it, please. You know that I'm always very open to show you Lima, show you Peru, and all your interests to me are very important because in that way I can do something that is valuable to you all and can be of use. So, well, thank you so much. We just made it to 1,000 followers in this channel. It means really a lot to me. I'm already celebrating. And well, I hope that also next time you can join me. Oh, I'm going to be doing one more at the end of the week, but I will be posting the date. Before that, I will be doing an event on this Thursday on restless.com. I've left also in a post here on YouTube the link if you wish to join me there. So Restless is a company that offers tours around the world, but they are also prepaid tours. So I hope you can join me also. And if not, in that occasion, well, in the next one here on YouTube. Sending you a big, big hug to you all, my friends. And until next time. Ciao, nos vemos. See you soon. Bye bye.